Hi, my name is Schyler Church. I am a California real estate broker as well as a member of the education department at Accredited Real Estate Schools. We offer those course requirements to be eligible to take the state exam in California to receive your real estate license, but also to make sure you're prepared to pass that state exam. It's a tricky one, so we want to make sure you're prepared, and one of the tools we use is practice questions. So this video is going to talk about a few of the practice questions. And this is part 10 of a series. If you want access to our database of over 3,600 practice questions, I have a link below, as well as a bunch of other options to help you prepare too. So make sure to check that out, and also make sure to subscribe and like our videos so we keep producing new content. And let's get to part 10 of our practice question series. 1. The separate property of a married person who dies intestate will A, be divided evenly between husband and wife. B, be divided 50% to the spouse and 50% to a single child. C, escheat to the state of California even if there are heirs. D, continue as community property. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is dissect the question, understand what it's asking, and really go through it. This question actually is very vocabulary based. So first off, let's look. Separate property. Okay, so this is saying it's not community property, it's held as separate property. So even though the person is married now, they most likely had this property prior to getting married, and they hold it as separate property. So it's not community property. The wife or the husband, whichever other married person, does not have claim on it as community property. And then the person who does hold it, though, as separate property dies intestate. So what happens? What does intestate mean? Well, intestate, you should be automatically thinking without a will, but with heirs. So then the court decides how the property is then distributed. And there are a lot of common examples that you should be aware of. And one of them would be that it is then distributed equally between heirs. Due to that, let's look at these answer options. Well, we can automatically get rid of C and D because it's separate property, it's not community property, that doesn't apply. Escheat to the state of California. Well, remember, escheat to the state of California is if you die without a will and without heirs. So then it would go to the state of California. And there are heirs, so that wouldn't really apply. So if then we're going to be between A and B, be divided evenly between husband and wife. Well, it wasn't community property, and it wouldn't be divided evenly anyways between the husband and wife because one of them had passed away. Well, the best answer then, without even knowing too much, would be divided 50% to the spouse and 50% to a single child. Because remember, when somebody dies intestate, what happens is it's distributed equally between the heirs. So if there was only one remaining, one spouse and one child, then it would be 50% to the spouse, 50% to the child. But let's say it was a spouse and two children. Well, then it would be 33 1/3% to each of them. So it's basically based on how the examples are and what it would be. The best answer is B. So be divided 50% to the spouse and 50% to a single child. So it's understanding what intestate is and what happens when you die intestate, as well as what separate property means and what community property means, so as well as what escheat is. So you really just have to be very well versed in your vocabulary. 2 or more brokers who agree on minimum commission amounts would be guilty of violating which of the following? A, antitrust laws. B, state commission requirements. C, Federal Fair Housing Act. D, Department of Consumer Affairs requirements. As always, let's look at the question. So 2 or more brokers are basically deciding that they're going to set a minimum commission amount, so almost like a rate floor. They're saying this is the minimum that we'll charge in this area, and that's going to affect competition in the marketplace, and they're almost wanting to create a monopoly. So you should automatically be thinking of antitrust laws. That's what they're violating. Antitrust laws were created to promote competition in the marketplace. And, among sellers, so once there's competition among sellers, it gives consumers more options, higher quality, lower prices, and it limits monopolies. So by them trying to set a commission, minimum commission amount, you should automatically be thinking antitrust laws. But let's make sure the other ones aren't correct, though, or even a better answer. Okay, state commission requirements. Well, as you know, California only requires you to disclose that commission amounts are negotiable. There aren't requirements, though, for the commission amount. So that is something that would not apply here. Now, fair housing, that deals with discriminatory practices. And this isn't actually discriminatory. This is violating a law, but nothing that is super, that really deals with this. This is like dealing with the antitrust and limiting competition, and it's not benefiting the marketplace. And then Department of Consumer Affairs requirements, that's just a throwaway answer that they put in there to try to make sound fancy, but no, that doesn't have anything to do with it. So it would be the antitrust laws, because remember, the Federal Trade Commission enforces rules of competitive marketplace by having antitrust laws. They want to create a vibrant economy and create a vibrant marketplace, and by having competition, it is best for the sellers to produce better products, better prices, and it's good to the consumers. And that's where the brokers mingling and deciding to set a minimum commission amount would not be good to sellers and buyers in the marketplace. Okay, so A, antitrust laws. 3, property purchased under the California Veterans Farm and Home Purchase Plan is held by A, the vendee, B, the trustor, C, the mortgagor, D, the Department of Veterans Affairs. Well, let's look at the question. So we're talking about the California Veterans Farm and Home Purchase Plan. What does that mean? Well, this is the plan, the program that is used by the California Department of Veterans Affairs, so CalVet. This is the program that they use to basically be able to get veterans into homes, so they can purchase homes, mobile home farms. It's their most popular program. They've had it since 1921. It's helped over 400,000 veterans in California. And when we're talking about this in CalVet and this program, what should you be thinking of? Well, the first thing is you should be automatically thinking of land contracts. And what do we know about land contracts? Well, CalVet, when using this program, they purchase a property and then they will establish a land contract with the veteran. And when we have land contracts, we should be thinking of vendee and vendor. Remember? Vendor is is basically like the seller, for instance, and the vendee is the veteran, is the one that's actually going to be paying the vendor. So the vendee has equitable title and the vendor has a legal title. Now, so we can automatically take the trustor out. That's not a correct answer option because of we're not dealing with deeds of trust here. Then the mortgagor, note we're not dealing with mortgages. So what then are we left with? A and D, the vendee, and then the Department of Veterans Affairs. Well, who holds title, basically? So that's what they're asking here when the purchase plan for the CalVet is used. Well, the vendor does. So the vendor is the California Department of Veterans Affairs, CalVet. Now, even though it just says Department of Veterans Affairs, they are insinuating that it's the California one because of the question. So the best answer is D, the vendor, who is the Department of Veterans Affairs. So and these questions right here, you have to know stuff to be able to answer them. Otherwise, it can be very complicated. Even though it seems like a very simple question, you have to do some deductions and understanding of what you know about it to then answer the question to the best of your ability. 4, the Alquist-Priolo Special Earthquake Studies Zones Act requires certain disclosures to be made when a property is located near A, known liquefaction areas, B, areas of known shaking, C, earthquake fault lines, D, none of the above are correct. Well, what do we know about Alquist-Priolo Special Earthquake Studies Zones Act? This deals with the disclosure that a seller has to do to a prospective purchaser of their property when the property is located within that quarter-mile strip of an earthquake fault line. So the best answer, just by knowing this, looks to be C, earthquake fault lines. But let's just verify. So we know Alquist-Priolo does not deal with the known liquefaction areas. Areas of known shaking, no, because all of California is known to be earthquakes. You could have earthquakes throughout, but within the actual fault line, that's the important part when it comes to the Alquist-Priolo. If you're an eighth of a mile on each side of the fault line, then you have to disclose that to a buyer. So the best answer is C, earthquake fault lines. 5. The booklet entitled A Homeowner's Guide to Earthquake Safety must be provided to a buyer who purchases a home that was built before A, January 1st, 1960, B, January 1st, 1972, C, January 1st, 1987, D, January 1st, 1988. So in California, there are some dates that you have to have memorized. There's no way around it. I don't really have a mnemonic or something to help you remember it, but you just have to memorize it. So one of them is in California, that booklet that deals with the Homeowner's Guide to Earthquake Safety. If you are purchasing a property that was built before this date, when you're basically required to be provided this booklet? So the date you should be thinking of is January 1st of 1960. So if a home was built prior to the 1960s, you need to have the booklet of a Homeowner's Guide to Earthquake Safety as a buyer. And that needs to be provided to you. It goes over a lot of information, a lot of great things to make you aware of it. Especially because, these homes then are older and they could be prone to more issues if an earthquake were to happen. Of course, an earthquake is dangerous no matter what, but that's what they really want you to be aware of as main sources of issues for safety concerns. So any home built prior to January 1st, 1960, if you are selling it, you as a seller need to provide the buyer this booklet of a Homeowner's Guide to Earthquake Safety. If you're using a real estate agent, usually they will assist with this, and you want to have receipt that the buyer was given this booklet. So here is a little bit of the introduction of the actual booklet. This is produced by California government, and they basically are saying, earthquakes are inevitable in California, and they can be destructive and deadly. And so it goes through a lot of information to say, hey, this guide we want you to be aware of. It helps, maybe to prevent some injuries, save lives, and avoid costly property damage from earthquakes. So they say it'll go over the most common earthquake-related hazards that can damage homes, how to find and then fix the potential structural risks in a home, and also more information on just earthquake safety. So it goes over a lot, and it's a really good one to be aware of and to know about, and it has lots of pictures. So I do recommend being aware of this, especially since you're going to be, once you're licensed and providing this to buyers, you should be aware of it. So you can find this easily online. And that is it. My name is Schyler Church. I'm with Accredited Real Estate Schools. We thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact us. Also, like and subscribe so we can keep producing new content. And good luck with your licensing journey.